We are super excited to have Rachel here with us today. If for some reason you have made it here and you are not a part of our Slack community already, we would love to have you in there. It's a pretty cool place to hang out, at least we think so. Meg, would you mind dropping that link for our Slack community in the chat for everybody? Thank you. So, just a little bit about us before we get started, because I do see so many new faces here today. We are kind of part agency, part vendor, part just a cool place for freelancers. So, our Slack community, like I mentioned, we've got over 1,800 learning professionals in there. It's got instructional designers, developers, voiceover actors, QA people, you name it. If you work in or around L&D, that's the coolest place to hang out on the internet, at least I hope so. And we have lots of channels just to chat about life, all the random things that come up in our world, but also a gig alerts channel. So that's where we might post the gigs that we are looking to fill roles for. So that's on the freelancer side of things. And then on the client side of things, we are offering, goodness, somebody's there we go. So we offer on-demand instructional design support. A lot of times we can staff a project super fast because we have that huge community of freelancers just ready to go. And we have these community events where we know people, we know what they're good at, what their jam is, and we can plug them into projects really quickly to help scale as fast as an organization might need, up, down, sideways, or however the project needs to go. Parker, would you like to add anything else to that?
I was on mute. No, you covered it well, Courtney. Thank you. Just happy to see everybody here today.
No, we are super excited to have such a good turnout and to have Rachel with us. Rachel is an instructional designer who specializes in gamified learning and rapid AI-assisted development workflows. So I'm really excited to hear from her today about how she uses vibe coding to build micro games, interactive scenarios, and other embeddable tools in Storyline and even in other places. I saw she was working on something in PowerPoint recently, which is pretty cool. So Rachel, I will give it over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Courtney. So I'm Rachel Weiss. As she said, I'm an instructional designer. I work with AssistRx, and I also founded EM Designs, which is a consulting company for individual freelance instructional designers who want some coaching or transitioning as well as teams. But today, we're going to go over vibe coding and how to turn in these games that we vibe coded into PWOs, which are portable web objects. And we're going to embed them into Storyline. So first thing that I really want to do before we dive is I want to show you what I vibe coded so we can kind of get a visual of what's happening here. So I'm going to share my screen. I don't know, can everybody see it? Is it shared?
Yes.
Okay, great. Wonderful. All right. So, excuse me while I grab that. So this is the game that I vibe coded in Figma. So Figma is a UI design tool. They also have this great aspect to it called Figma Make, which is vibe coding in which it makes the games for you through natural language. So I'm just going to show you how that works. We're going to start the game. We have a question pop up. And then we play and we clear a line. And as each line clears, a new question pops up. I have it set at 5 questions. And then it's over. So obviously this is not meant to carry or to instruct, but more be a supplemental tool for recall and to help practice the material. So the scoring, it rewards speed. So if you answer correctly, you're going to get anywhere between 100 and 300 points. If you lose, then you're going to lose about 50 points. Professionally, I'm going to pause this for a second. Professionally, I use this to layer in between my PowerPoint slides, so different sections, because you can also use it in Rise, but that is a different aspect of putting it in. That's a different way to put it in. But for PowerPoint, I use that for e-learnings as well. I'm sorry. For Storyline, I use that as e-learnings as well. So I like to layer in these games inside to make it more interactive. Personally, I build these games with my nieces who are learning to read and do math. So it's a really fun way for me to play and connect with them. So as we're building this today, I think it'd be a really great idea for you guys to think, how am I going to use this? How can I use this professionally? How can I use it personally? Because I'm sure that this is not the only way to use it. Maybe you want to make an arcade section for those who have downtime during your trainings, things like that. There's so many ways you can use this. Um, so again, this is really great reinforcement. And now we're going to kind of go into what you're going to have here today, which I'm going to drop the link. You're going to get this webinar toolkit. And let me just grab that link. I did drop it in, but I'm going to drop it in again for you guys. So it is going to be in the chat.
Right.
Sorry, guys. So let me know that you got it. And this is what it's going to look like. So you're going to get 4 items today. You're going to get a conversion prompt. And that's what we're going to be. We're going to be using the web browser, the IDE, to convert our game code into that portable web object. So that's going to be your conversion prompt. You're going to open that, you're going to copy, and you're going to paste it. I'll let you know when that time has come. Your PWO guide, that is very important. You're going to want to have that open, and that's going to be your roadmap for today as well, or after if you want to do this on your own. So it's going to have everything from what we're going over to what you get in the toolkit. It has my GitHub repo. The GitHub repo is where I keep my code for the game. So I'm going to show you how to put that into Replit to do the conversion. We're going to have our workflow. We're going to go over some troubleshooting things. And then we're going to go over the CSV, the spreadsheet format that's included in portable web object you're going to make. And if I'm saying a lot of words in here and going kind of fast, it's only because I'm just giving you guys an overview. We're going to be going through each step together, so I don't want you guys to feel overwhelmed. And then I'm going to show you how to put it into Storyline. So again, that is part of what's in your webinar toolkit. You're going to have your Storyline setup instructions. So this is just how to size your slide in Storyline, what to do with the menu, your player settings, things like that, to make sure that you have an optimal view of your game. And then our Tetris game prompt, I'm actually gonna get that one open too. And we're gonna go over that in a minute. If you have any questions, I'd like you to put them in put them in the chat, or you can message me on LinkedIn. If you opened up your PWO guide, you'll see that my LinkedIn is attached in there, and I'm happy to answer any questions after this webinar. I'm going to do my best to address what I can during, but we only have so much time, and so we may not be able to get through all of them. And some of you may be hitting pain points today if you're following along, if you're using a free Replit account. And that is the thing about vibe coding, is that when you're using free accounts, it's a hit or miss sometimes. Most of the time it works, but sometimes you may have to nudge it along or start over even to make sure that you're actually getting the result that you want. So again, your PWO does have some troubleshooting scenarios in there as you're following along if you need them. But vibe coding is prompt-based and it's not exact science. So the better AI tools you use, the better results you're going to have. And sorry, somebody have a question? Okay. So again, we're converting a vibe coded game into a portable web object. And I kind of want to also start with what is vibe coding, and that is talking to an AI in a natural language to build something together. You describe what you want, and the AI writes the code. So this is something that anybody can do. It's very accessible. Some really great vibe coding tools are going to be Lovable, Bolt, Gemini, Cursor, and Replit. I don't have Figma Makeup here, but that is my favorite for these kind of games. So as you saw earlier, that's how I made my original Tetris code. So what I kind of want to do too is show you quickly how I vibe coded that in Figma Make. I think that is a great idea. So I'm going to show you, excuse me, a couple things that I did here. So I put in the prompt that I gave you guys. I gave you guys a Tetris vibe coding prompt in your toolkit, and I put it in Figma Make. So if you made an account, you can go to Figma Make, and you could drop in the prompt right in here. And I just want to show you something interesting is that I dropped the same prompt that I gave you guys today into Figma Make, and I got this result. And then I dropped it again, and I got this result. So you're going to get different types of looks, different types of games, even with the same prompt. And that is what vibe coding is. It's not going to be perfect. Some are going to have huge bugs in it that you're going to have to tweak or start over. Others may come out perfect on the first try. Something I like to do when I'm vibe coding in Figma Make is I'll go to a game that I like or something I've seen. I take a screenshot, I put it in the chat, and I say, hey, I'd really like it to look like this. Or I'll pick a site like Chanel or something and say, hey, can you match this aesthetic? When I want something creamy and light and black and elevated, I'll do that. So it's really just all about talking to that AI. And if you look at the prompt, if you have that open, you're going to see that it has different sections. A good vibe coding prompt has several key parts. And I want to see if I can find that for you guys. Sorry, I moved some things around. Let me grab it up. Okay, so you're going to notice that your Tetris game prompt, this is what you guys should have. There, I have little sections in here. So I have a high level goal, UI and sizing requirement, pieces and UI panels, um, part two, even to kind of phase it, give it phasing. So it's playable game implementation now, piece system. So I go over different aspects and I like to try to make it as specific as possible. Yes, you can say put in a Tetris game and it'll probably make you a pretty good one. But if you want sizing, if you want specific items, it's always good to try to put labels in your prompt. You could even take this prompt, put it in an LLM like ChatGPT, and you can say, make me a bingo game and label it like, and follow the structure of this prompt and put it in your Figma Make or your Lovable or something like that. So that's a really good prompt to have and to use on your free time. So now that you guys kind of understand where the game comes from, let's take my finished game code and convert it to the PWO. So we're going to use Replit. So we're gonna all go there together. If you're following along, if you're not, that's fine too. And this is where you would create an account. So Replit is a browser IDE, and IDE is an integrated development environment. So it's basically a workspace where you can write, edit, and run code. So Replit is nice because it's browser-based. There's other ones such as Cursor, which is downloadable. You have to install it, but Cursor is really great with their free agents. Are very generous with that. And then you could, of course, upgrade and use Claude and all that fun stuff. Personally, I do Visual Studio Code and I call in Claude Code into it. But Replit does a great job, and it's nice that you don't have to install anything or worry about any items like that. So go to replit.com. We're going to create an account. I'm going to sign into my Google one. And Courtney, everyone can see this, right? I'm not talking in the wind.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I lost my unmute bar. I've got too many
Perfect.
things open. Yes, we see you. It is great.
Okay,
Thank you.
first wanted to triple check. Okay. So we're going to go to, once you get into your Replit, you're going to want to go to import code or design. And you're going to go to GitHub. GitHub is a repository where you keep a lot of code. You
Mhm.
don't need a GitHub account. So what I'm going to do is you're going to go to GitHub and you're going to look at your PWO and you're going to see, that's end page. You're going to see that I gave that to you guys here. You're going to select and copy it. Okay. And I can also, for access, so everyone should be able to copy that GitHub. One more time. And then we're just going to paste it here in the GitHub repo URL. So it's going to automatically select that. And that's Tetris PWO webinar. And we're going to import from GitHub. You can make it private or public. It really doesn't matter. It's just other people going on and be able to see your code. So if that bothers you, make it private. If it doesn't, then either one you want. So we're going to import from GitHub. I just want to remind you also as we do this, so it should be going in, if you're using a Replit free account, as I said earlier, there may be certain snags you run into. Please look at the troubleshooting log that I gave you. It may need a push. You might have to say build the dist folder. You might have to say show app, things like that. It should run, but um, when you're working with free agents, you kind of, it's a hit or miss in that section. But I think it should be run pretty nicely. So while we're making this, I think a good thing to do would be to go back to your linked webinar toolkit and to open the conversion prompt. This is what you're going to be putting in once it's built. So I'm going to select all of that. I'm going to copy it. And this is what's going to turn my code into a PWO. So it built mine. Hopefully everyone else is having theirs built as well. Who's following? And I'm going to play it just a moment to see that and make sure it's working correctly. So notice the questions are kind of geographical, maybe like sixth grade, something like that. This is just random. This is a placeholder. So obviously what we're going to be doing with this is we're going to, when we create our distribution folder or dist folder, we're going to make this spreadsheet where it gets the questions editable. So you can put any questions and answers in it. So what is the answer? Diamond? Correct. Okay. So it looks like it's working. Really happy with that. This is when I'm going to put in my conversion prompt. And this honestly is probably the one that's going to be the most, give you the most snag.
Rachel, before you start on that, we do have a good question in the chat. I think some of us are a
Yes.
little lost on the relationship between Figma, Replit, and GitHub. I think you're using Figma and Replit here in the same, like they're both doing the same thing. You could do it in either one, right? But what is GitHub and why are you using that?
Okay, so great point. So Figma is where I make the game. You cannot make, so I'm going to have to make a distribution folder in order to turn it to PWO, and Figma won't be able to do that. It does give me the code for the game. and I can use that to put into Replit, but I can't just drop my Figma code into Storyline and have it work as a PWO. Now, when I get my code in Figma Make, I put it in my GitHub repository. That is just a place, it's like a desktop online, where you can have all your code and your code links. We're using that link to import into Replit. So it's all you're doing. You're just accessing my code. Does that make sense? So
I
the
think so.
repo, you don't need it. I'm sorry?
I said, I think so. What other questions do we have though?
Are there any more?
Yeah, Dan is saying, so what will Replit do? And he's also who had the original question. So you started in Figma, you get your code, you put your code into the storage location, basically. You're pulling it into Replit. Then what is Replit doing for us?
So Replit again is the IDE, and that's where it forms my code. It bundles it up into a distribution folder it's going to be called my dist storyline folder. And that bundles up my spreadsheet and my game index, like the game engine together so that I can drop it into storyline as a portable web object. So I can't build that in Figma. That's what I need Replit for. Is that Does that answer that? So
So
basically, what this prompt does, it's rebuilding the code to create something, like I said, the distribution folder. And that's going to include, I'm kind of repeating myself, but just to make clear, it's going to include my index and my CSV, my spreadsheet with the questions and answers. And that spreadsheet is going to be able to talk to that game index, that script, and be able to change out questions and answers without having to code or anything else. You just edit the spreadsheet, you save it, and then you put it back into Storyline. Um, does that answer your question?
I think so.
Okay.
Dan
Okay.
also says he thinks so.
And
Let's keep
again,
going and maybe we'll get more clarity
yeah,
as we go too,
and
as we actually see this thing take shape.
exactly. You'll see it take shape. And if there's any lingering questions at the end, we don't have any time, please go ahead and meet me on LinkedIn and we can, chat and do all that stuff. So right now I'm going to put in my conversion prompt. So everybody should have selected that copy and you're going to paste it into this chat here. And I'm going to run it. And now, like I was saying before, this is probably where you're going to find the most hiccups on a free account. Um, Worked most of the time. I tried it out on my free accounts to make sure that it was working, and it usually did. But again, look at that troubleshooting section in the PWO guide I gave you. Maybe that'll help. If you have any questions, Courtney, let me know, and I'll try my best to answer them.
Yeah, I think we were wondering if you could have just started in Replit instead of starting in Figma. Could you have had Replit build the original code?
Yeah, you could have. So you'll notice when you try these different vibe coding AI tools, you're going to get different types of results. So I was doing it in Replit and I honestly just didn't like the design. So Figma Make out of Lovable, out of Bolt, whichever, Figma Make is my favorite design tool for making these kind of games. You may have a different experience. Maybe the prompt you give or the direction you give may give you a better result. So yes, absolutely, you can do that in Replit. Um, and that's a really good question because you can make in any AI vibe coding tool. But Figma Make, again, my favorite, best results, especially when it comes to sizing and things like that.
Great, thanks.
Sure. Okay, so it's still building it.
So Bernadette's wondering, do you feel like doing it in Figma first allows you a little more design creativity than if you would have just started in Replit? I guess,
Creativity
is
part.
there a reason that you prefer Figma over the other tool for that
I
original
just
code?
think it just produced better results. I just think it looked nicer. Um, so that's my personal opinion on that. I really like the results consistently. Even when I got really different types of Tetrises, I still like them a lot better using that prompt in Figma than I did in Replit. So maybe that was a little extra showing you guys today, but I did want to show you like what my favorite one was. And I definitely, I mean, go for it. Like go and Replit after this, put in that prompt or make your own prompt, and you might get better results than I did. Like maybe you will like it. So it's not so much that you're going to get like it's going to really make it that different. It's just that I like the look of it better. I feel like Figma made better games
Okay, great. And
personally.
Ryan, I see you have your hand raised. Did you have a question as well?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Um, I'm with I think it's Dan. Just kind of trying to figure out the chunks, and I don't know if at the end of this there's a diagram or something, but if I'm not really a coder, and I don't want to take a lot of time here, but I just want to say like you've given us these great tools in Google Drive, and I think where I just want to be clear at the end of this is just like this this tool does this, and that's why it goes into Replit, and then it creates the PWO, which goes into Storyline. Like I'm understanding some of it, but I just want to make sure, and I'll wait to the end, I guess. I didn't mean to interrupt. I actually didn't mean to raise my hand, but that's where I'm at. Is I'm just trying to figure out how these major pieces chunk together.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, like I would look through that PWO afterwards and kind of try to follow. I did put like a 6-step process where I kind of tried to show that process. And with vibe coding, nothing is exact. It's a lot of playing, it's a lot of trying.
Right.
Um,
Cool.
but again, guys, happy to have a virtual chat with you guys and run through it with you, things like that. So if there's any more questions in that regard and you're not getting answered today, please message me on LinkedIn. I'd be so happy to meet with you guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rachel.
So yeah, of course. And I'm really happy to say it looks like it built it today. So um, you're gonna see, I kind of skipped ahead here. So in the right-hand corner, you're gonna see your publish button. You're gonna see this file icon, and that's a file toggle. And that's where all the code is. So what you should see is your dist storyline folder. That is your distribution folder. That's the only one you need. It's going to, if I click on it, you're going to see it has the index code and it has my questions. So you guys, if you're using a free account, you're usually going to get 5, and that's the one we're going to use today. But when you use a paid account, they gave you like 25 questions. It really doesn't matter. The more questions you have, it's nice because as you play it, you can play again and it'll come up with new questions. It'll pull new questions from it. So it's not the same 5 over and over, but it really is not quite important in that area. So anyway, so we have our distribution storyline folder, and I'm going to download that. And it's going to download the zip folder that you can save anywhere. So I'm going to extract mine to my desktop. So I have my storyline folder, I'm extracting it. And I'm going to show you guys what that folder should include.
So Rachel, people are asking, where did it get the questions? Are those questions that it made up on its own, or did you create them
Question.
somewhere?
Yes. Those questions were made on their own. They were random questions created by the AI. So I did not make them. The AI went the extra mile and made those questions. But now we're going to look at, and now you're going to see how you can change them. So this is really the most important aspect, and like what makes this thing so dynamic and reusable and scalable is that you can change out those questions and you can copy this folder, this distribution folder, and you can change the questions in that one. So you can have like multiple items of these games, you know, different duplications of these games with different questions. So this is the
That's the,
one.
oh,
Sorry?
sorry. So that's the purpose of the CSV file, correct?
Yes, that is the purpose of the CSV file, is that it has all the questions that you need. And you're going to notice there are 7 columns on your CSV file. You do not want to touch the columns. Do never touch the columns. It will break. The only thing you really want to touch is what's inside. So anything inside you can change, you can update, but you do not want to touch your top columns. You also do not want to change the name of your spreadsheet. If you change the name of your spreadsheet, it will break. It will not work. So that's very important. That is in your PWO. And then I have 3 major rules in the PWO, which is do not change the columns. 0 indexing. Does anybody know what 0 indexing is? Okay, so the computer selects the correct answer based on a 0 index answer. So we have option 1, 2, 3, 4. These are multiple choice questions, right? These are answer choices. This is the column for the correct answer. It is on a 0 index answer scale, meaning that option 1 is actually 0. Option 2 is going to be 1. Option 3 is going to be 2. And then option 4 is going to be 3. So so the answer for this one is option 3, Pacific Ocean. If you put 3, it's going to be wrong. It's not going to select the correct answer. So this is extremely important when doing this. Make sure you're always doing it on a 0 index. So those are the 3 things that don't change the title of the CSV, don't touch the columns, and do it based on a 0 indexing answer scale.
And I understand it will break if we change the column names. Will it break if we move the spreadsheet to a new location?
As long as it's in your dist folder. So your distribution folder that includes the index and your CSV is now portable. You can put that anywhere. You can put it on your drive. You can send it to someone, you know, you can put it anywhere you want, but you need to keep them together. So you can, again, you could take that distribution folder and you can duplicate it and you can change out the questions, and then you have 2 folders and you can change it to dist folder 1, dist folder 2, but that CSV name has to be the same. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and again, this is in your PWO, so those are the 3 biggest rules. And I'm going to show you guys an example of what it would look like. So right now, if I put it into my storyline, it's going to come up with these 5 questions. What is 8 times 7? What is the capital France? You know, basic questions. But I'm going to show you right now that I'm going to change those questions. And I already have some that I pre-made. So I'm just going to paste them in. I could write them in, it doesn't matter. But I just changed the questions out. I'm going to give it another ID here. It doesn't really even matter. This is mostly like your ID column is mostly for your own tracking. So is the category and the difficulty. So this really doesn't matter what you put inside. No one's going to see it but you. What they are going to see are your questions, your options, your correct answer, and your explanation. So what is the color of the sky? Blue.
And can you add more questions, or are we limited to these 5?
You can add as many questions as you want. So you can keep going. As long as you follow the structure, you can just keep going with the questions. And then when you replay it, it should keep pulling from that list of questions you have for it. So I'm changing the explanation here. So you're going to see that there. But take okay. Dog. So what's wrong? It doesn't really matter, right? So what animal flies because points? And which animal barks? So anyway, so here is what I'm going to do. Doesn't really matter whether you put this in yellow or not. It's really not going to change anything, but I'm just putting it back to normal. I'm going to control save. I'm going to save it, not resaving. I'm just saving it, not changing the name. I'm going to exit out. And this is the part where we're going to go into storyline.
I noticed there was a difficulty column. They were all just 1. Is there any importance to that column?
This is yeah, let's go over this a little bit more. Thank you for that. So let me kind of color code this for a second. So I'm gonna make these yellow. And then I'm gonna make these a different color. So okay. So what's in yellow, again, is what the audience, like what affects the audience, what they may see, right? Or this is important to the game. What's in green, the category, the difficulty, and the ID is for you. It doesn't really matter. You can even have it blank. It shouldn't really affect it. But difficulty, that's for you. Difficulty, depending on how you feel difficulty is, one can be good or it can be bad, or like it could be the most difficult or the least difficult. That's just for your own tracking. The good thing about this and why I left it in here is because as you do vibe coding and as you start talking to your AIs, you might want to say something like, oh, I want to be able to track like how many people are getting the difficult questions correct or wrong. And now we kind of have that built-in column already there that you can start tracking. And that's a whole nother can of beans. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Making sure I'm using the right one. And that's a whole different aspect. That's like when you're really getting into the flow and you're starting to talk to those AIs and know what you're doing. But basically that's just kind of there for you to keep track. You can make your own spreadsheet. I wouldn't delete the column, I would just keep it here because the thing about the CSV is that it is very delicate. So again, you do not touch these. You can do whatever you want with these. These are your domain. And then the yellow, again, the question, the options, the correct answers, the explanations, that's going to be something that the audience is going to see and be affected by. Any questions about those? Anything? Cool. All right.
I think we got it. Thanks.
Cool. Okay. Glad we went through that. All right. So again, I'm going to save. Just gonna fill that out. Save it. Gonna exit. And now I'm gonna go into storyline. So I'm going to give you guys a minute if you're following along to get into storyline. And you're going to see in your toolkit, as I showed you guys before, you're going to see in your toolkit that you have a storyline setup instruction PDF. So this is something you can use on your own time. You're going to see exactly how to set up your slides in storyline in order to get the best view of the game. If you do not have the right slide size, it may look kind of wonky. It may not fill up the screen or fill it up too much, that kind of thing. So it's important that you guys follow these dimensions, and we're going to go through it in just a moment. It's also in your PWO, just without the screenshots, but it kind of explains it as well. But this is for you guys to have, and now we're going to go through it together. So if you go into Storyline, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to your Design tab, and you're going to go to Slide Size. Usually it's something like 720 by 540. I like to put it in custom. And then I put in 1280 by 720. That is 1280 by 720. And I lock the aspect ratio. And if I know I'm going to do more, I do, or add other items, other slides to this, I do use it as my current default slide. Scale existing content to fit is perfectly fine checked. And then I press OK. And let's dive into that. So now I'm going to go to home. Once I clicked into it, I'm going to go to player settings. And this is also your discretion too. The less you have on your screen, the better view you're going to get of the game. So this is where I deal with the menu. And you're going to see you're already in features. I'm going to take off my menu sidebar. I'm also going to take off my resources because I don't really like it. And that's going to leave me with just these bottom tools, which you can take off or on, whatever you want. You don't really need that, right? That's your discretion. But the bottom tools, whether they're on or off, they don't really affect any of the viewing of the game. It's mostly this features aspect, the sidebar, which really is important to make sure it's off. You could also just turn it off completely. I like to keep mine on because when I'm doing online type of e-learnings, I may want to have that next and preview button there and not have to depend on some type of storyline trigger in order for it to go on to the next slide. So I do like to keep it on. I just get rid of the sidebar. And then I go to colors and effects. And if you want like a really nice, seamless kind of like edge to edge view, you're going to want to go with that light. It looks a lot better. And we're going to press OK. So you're doing the light player. And I'm going to press OK. And this is where you're going to insert your web object. So we're going to go to Insert, Web Object. We're going to browse it. So wherever you put it is where you're going to grab it. So I'm going to grab my folder here. One second. Did I rename it? Sorry, guys. One quick second. I want to make sure I'm giving you guys the right folder. We're
Does the
good.
folder
That was
have to be zipped?
No, you want it to be, so you should have abstracted it already. So it's not zipped. So it's just going to be dist storyline, or you can rename it, but I keep it the same. And again, it'll have that index and questions. So this is the one we just edited. So I'm going to just make sure it's the correct one. Yes, that's the same one we just edited. Okay, so we're good. So anyways, so you extracted your zipped folder that you got from Replit, right? And now it's just this storyline. You're going to go to your storyline, insert, web object, browse. And this is my disk storyline folder. This is the one with the index and the CSV we just edited. Now, if I double click it, it's going to look empty. It's not empty, but it's going to look empty. So please don't be alarmed. So you're going to click your disk storyline folder. You're going to select that folder and you're going to press OK. And the thing about PWOs or web objects is that you cannot view it. You can't view it as a preview. You need to publish it. So if you do slide view, it's not going to show up. So in order to see what you just made, we're going to go to publish. And the quickest, easiest thing for me when I'm trying to preview something is to publish to Review 360. And you can change the name, create new items. So we're going to do Tetris. I can publish it as an entire project. I can publish it as a single scene or a single slide. I only have one there, so it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to keep it entire project. And then I'm going to publish it. And it's usually really fast and just like a really easy way to see it. So now we're going to view our project. And it may show up immediately. It may say, hey, we need a minute, and give you a little text here, and it'll show up eventually. And here is your game. You're going to start game. And then you can see.
Hello, Angela. This is next calling.
I might have made a mistake up here. I forgot about this. So the category is up there, which you could leave. Something you could take out or keep in. But anyways, so what tastes sweet? That was one of the questions we put. So we're going to put cookies. Great. It seems to be working correctly. Usually a lot better at this,
No pressure. We're all watching.
right? It's really not. Hold on. I'm just gonna make sure it does one more time. Okay, what color is the sky? Blue. So I can go back in there. I can change the questions again. It's always going to reflect it, which is really nice. Again, the more questions you put in, the more it's going to pull from when you replay it. Don't forget that zero indexing. I'm just going to play it through for you guys. It's just going to be a sec.
So are the questions set up on a timer, or is it when you clear a line, you get a question?
Okay, so the questions are when you clear a line, and then when you have the question pops up, it gives you a timer to kind of make that fun kind of urgent feeling. So these are really easy things to also vibe code out of it. When you're making your own, you can say you don't like the timer, you want more questions, things like that. You just talk to your AI in your AI vibe coding tool and you make it your own. And maybe you take out this category. I'm not really a big fan of it. I forgot all about it. So that's kind of up to you. And that's great about vibe coding. What were you saying?
Joy asked if you can use like a company approved AI bot or agent to do that tweaking of the prompts and the coding at the beginning, like Copilot, for example.
Yeah. So Copilot, I don't know if it makes, I don't think, honestly, I'm not sure about Copilot. I don't think it makes games. Maybe it does. You can definitely tweak your prompts with it. That's for sure. You can use that just like a regular, LLM, like you would ChatGPT. You can put any prompts in there and talk about it with it. But I don't know if it'll generate an actual game. Just like these are like the specific type of vibe coding AI tools that do that for you. So I'm not really I haven't done much with Copilot, so I wouldn't know. I don't think so.
So if you wanted to remove that category, you would have to go back to your prompts and ask it to remove it from the game in Figma, correct?
Exactly. So if you guys want to see, I'll kind of show you how I make those changes with my Tetris. So I'll go to the one of the ones that I didn't really do too much with. All I did was I put in the prompt and it gave me this. And I could say, I'm going to tell it to give me a different type of aesthetic. I can tell it to add a timer, take off a timer. Um, I can tell it I don't like how the options are listed. Let's play on this one too. So this one, this is common too. You make it errors. You say fix for me, and it usually fixes. It takes a minute. It'll start working. Your game can still play. So something I may want to add there is to get out of it. There was no pause or anything like that. So maybe that's something I want to add to that game. Um, Anything you could think of, you can change on it, which is really nice. So here it's still fixing. It's still working. Any questions while we wait?
Yeah, we have a bunch of them.
Trying to go with the
I'm
easiest one.
trying to prioritize here. So I apologize if I don't bring one of your questions up because we are looking at the time. I only have about 7 minutes left here. So you talked about how to remove a category. What breaks if you edit the columns, or in another way, how did the CSV file come into existence in the first place? How does the robot know what to put into that file?
Yeah, so that definitely comes from making it, but also putting it, especially putting it into your distribution folder. So when we do that conversion, we tell it that we want it to connect to a CSV file and that we want how many questions we want, things like that. So that's really what's important about that conversion prompt right there. That's like really the bread and butter of like how it becomes that portable folder.
Perfect. So you asked for a CSV file as part of the prompt so that you could make
Yes,
those updates,
exactly.
text updates yourself. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody asked if you could do this in Rise instead of Storyline.
You could.
Danny
So
gave an answer, but I'm wondering what your answer is as well.
yeah, a couple ways you can do it is you can either you can do it in your storyline if that's how you prefer to do it anyways, and drop it in to Rise as a interaction, or what is it, interactive block, I believe. You can pull from your storyline review 360 account and it pops in that storyline. So you could do it that way. There's also a way to do it, and perhaps we can do that some other time, which is just using this and using this code specifically and putting it in Rise. So you're not going to get the same flexibility with being able to change those questions out.
Yes, and somebody did just mention that if you ask the original prompt, whatever you're using to do the original prompting, not to include webhooks, you can possibly just put the code straight into Rise. Danny also said that maybe you can use the Mighty plugin for being able to do some things like this. But it sounds like putting it in Storyline, you probably have the most control over being able to make those edits.
Yeah, you have the most flexibility doing it that way. So,
All right, what other questions do we have? Did you write the conversion prompt yourself?
so the conversion prompt was a lot of just back and forth. I was starting to do these and I was saying, hey, I went in on, I'll be candid with you all, is I use Cloud Code a lot, which is, in my opinion, the most superior of all the AIs when it comes to coding. So I will bring Cloud Code into my Visual Studio Code and I talk to it and I say, hey, can you convert this into a web object I can drop in Storyline? That was the first thing I ever did. And it said, sure. And then it gave me really bad scripts and it wasn't working. And we tweaked it, went back and forth until finally I got something that worked. And I told it, okay, now make this a prompt for me and make it flexible so you use other games with this prompt. And even from there, I still had to tweak it. What I like to do is when I go to Cloud Code and I make something, I always go back and I say, okay, look at everything we did in this conversation, look at what worked, what didn't work, and turn that into a prompt that I can reuse that again. And what's even better is that you can turn those prompts into skills in the Claude Code. And then all you have to do is type in a word and you drop in a game and it does it. But now I'm probably going off to another tangent. So,
I think we could go down a million different tangents here.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, Rachel, this has been really fantastic. I'm sure there are still a lot of questions. We're running pretty slim on time though, so I know Rachel has shared her LinkedIn, and we really appreciate that, Rachel. I have a feeling your inbox might get flooded.
Let's do it.
I'm going to steal your share so I can share my screen, okay?
Please do. Yes. Take me off.
All right. We thought it might be fun to put our new vibe coding skills to the test. So something that we have seen a desire for within our Slack community is some more design challenges this year. So in this quarter, we're going to put a design challenge out there. We want you to build about a 4 to 6 slide storyline, so not anything super long, an onboarding module for how to capture leprechauns at Clover Ops. So we'll have a whole little brand kit for this company. They are all about ethically capturing leprechauns. And your task is to make a really short onboarding module for a new employee and to include some sort of vibe coded element somewhere in there. So you'll be able to find this recording in the Slack channel later, come back to it and look at it to try to make your own thing similar to what Rachel has showed us how to do today, and plug that in to a storyline course before March 9th and send it to us, and let's see who comes up with some really cool, fun ways to catch a leprechaun. And there will be a prize. We'll have, something in it for you, and it also is just fun to see what each other comes up with. All of that will be posted in the channels in our Slack. So if you're not there already, make sure you go to idlance.com/community events. That's where you can find everything that's coming up, and you can hit the big call to action button at the top to join our Slack community. Oops, wrong direction. Our next event is Tuesday, January 20th. So next week, same time, but we're going to have a live demo of EdPlay, which is another AI tool we can use for learning creation. So this is actually a tool that you can use to create your entire learning experience from AI prompting. And they have like an LMS-ish kind of element and stuff too. So they're going to demonstrate that for us next Tuesday. And we hope to see you all there. You can RSVP with the links in the Slack channel for that as well. And that's how you will get the Zoom links for joining that call next week. Thank you all. And thank you so much, Rachel. This was so very helpful. I'm looking at vibe coding a project like right now myself. I know we talked about that. So I understand it so much more now. And I really appreciate you sharing your brain with us today.
So glad. Thank you for the opportunity, guys. It was great.